It's just a public service announcement. Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Ho. H to the O.
And we're back with another episode of Pro Sports Takes, where we make statements, not sentences out here. And this is a future-focused show. So let's talk about the future and discuss who we think is going to be the best NBA player of the 2020s. Rob, who you got, bro?
All right, so getting into the 2020s, I think everyone would agree that it's either going to be Luka, Giannis, or Zion. You got to give Ja Morant, Trae Young, Jayson Tatum some honorable mention. But as of right now, there's nobody else even really worth mentioning. But when I think about who's going to project as a long-term success, you always got to think about athleticism, because injuries are a real part of the game, and the more athletic a player is, the more likely they're going to be able to stay on the court. That is why LeBron James has had an incredibly consistent career. It's why you see guys who are athletic freaks continue to have successful careers, specifically on the basketball court. And when I think about who is the biggest athletic freak in the NBA, it's no question, it's the Greek freak himself. This man Giannis is a complete athletic specimen from head to toe. He's incredibly tall, his length is comparable to nobody, and he Euro steps his way through the lane unlike anyone we've ever seen before. The guy, just what he can do from an athletic standpoint is unprecedented. And really the key for him is developing a jumper. We all know that has been his weakness so far. It's why he hasn't been able to succeed in the playoffs so far. It's why he hasn't been able to win a title. But we've seen him develop his jumper every single year. Every single season, his three-point percentage has gone up. His three-point field goal makes have gone up. He's shown that he puts in the work as much as anyone. And if there's anyone to bet on, it's Giannis, because of his work ethic and because of where he came from, his background, and everything that has made him who he is today. He's already a two-time reigning MVP, so it's not, an incredibly bold take to say, this guy is going to be the best player. But a lot of people are looking at Luka, they're looking at Zion, and they think, over the next 10 years, those guys are going to end up as the best players. But Giannis is only 26 years old, and we're looking at LeBron James at 35 right now, still dominating the league. So in 10 years, Giannis could still be in that position with a few rings to his name and still being at the top of the game.
Yeah, Rob, I think you hit it on the head. It's clearly a three-man race. It really comes down to Zion, Giannis, and Luka. When it comes down to it, I really think it's a clear indication of who's going to win, and I think you got to throw it to Luka. When you look at last year, only at the age of 20 years old, he dropped 29, 9, and 9. When you look at some of the greatest players in NBA history and the first time they dropped any stats close to that, you look at Russell Westbrook, who did it for the first time at the age of 27. You look at Magic and Oscar Robertson, who were able to do that at the age of 22, but Luka was able to do it at the age of 20 with only a year under his belt prior to that season. When we think about Luka's game, it's all around buckets. He can score from every single inch of the floor, and I think it's interesting, Rob, that you alluded to the point of athleticism and how it could either prolong your career if you're really athletic, or it could shorten your career if you're not athletic enough. And I remember this quote that Andre Miller said, who played for like 22 years in the NBA. He said the main reason why he lasted in the NBA so long is because he didn't jump. And when I look at Luka's game, it's just so smooth, and the way that he wins, it's not based off athleticism. It's based off size, poise, savviness, a lot of things that he learned playing multiple years in the Euro League. And that's really similar to the ways that Oscar Robertson won, the same ways that Magic Johnson won. They used their size to their advantage, and they used their basketball IQ and intelligence to be able to dominate the game. So I'm really just hammering on the fact that Luka dropped 29, 9, and 9 at the age of 20-year-old, dominating, smashing NBA records for the first time players played in the series with points, and he dropped 44 in one game, which was a record. So Luka's he's just nonstop cups. And the fact of the matter is that he's the youngest player outside of Zion on this top 3 of the list. And just the way that he scores, I think it's a lot more effortless than Zion. When Zion attacks the basket, it's different because he's just a powerful freak. And the same for Giannis. But when I think it comes to being able to get buckets at any time, it's going to come the easiest to Luka Doncic. Even though he's only had one chance of playing in the playoffs already, he's already smashed records and has done things that nobody else has done. And he's proved to be able to carry a team like the Dallas Mavericks to a 6-game series with the star-studded Los Angeles Clippers, and they didn't even have Kristaps Porzingis. When you think about Giannis Antetokounmpo, he can't even hit a free throw in the clutch at the end of the day. Luka just has all these seasons under his belt. He's proven to be a clutch performer. He's proven to be able to score from anywhere on the court. And just the fact that he's with Dirk Nowitzki, Mark Cuban, and Rick Carlisle, profile, that's a recipe for NBA championships. That's a recipe to get the most out of this player, and I think Luka will be just a dominant player every single year in the 2020s.
Yeah, when you think about these two guys, they're very similar and very different at the same time. They're similar in the aspect that you have two international icons who have already become MVP caliber players very young in their careers with an obviously very bright future ahead of them. But they're very different when you look at how they got to that point. Luka was a 16-year-old MVP from Slovenia, while Giannis came from the gutters of Greece and has continuously risen up. He has brothers alongside him. It's a completely different story as how they got to where they got, but this is about where they're going. And when you look at Luka's game, it's hard to find a weakness. Like, he can score, he can pass, he can shoot, he can rebound. You know, he's a all-around very effective player. But when you look at the stats, and you brought up the stats of how incredible he is, I don't even want to do that, because when you do that, it's almost clearly going in Giannis's direction. Giannis's three-point percentage is basically the same as Luka's, and everyone talks about how Luka's such a great three-point shooter. Giannis still needs to develop it. Well, it's almost identical from an efficiency standpoint. And then you have the fact that he's doing things that have never been done before, from a rebound standpoint, from an efficiency standpoint, from putting the ball in the basket more often than basically any other player who's putting up 20, 30 points a game. Luka's game really reminds me of James Harden, who uses skill as a way to succeed at the next level, but he does it through a lot of shots. He does it through a lot of misses late in the games, and he does it through a lot of passing in big moments. And when you watch Luka's game, of course, he had that incredible performance against the Clippers, which everyone thinks about, one of the greatest performances, if not the greatest I've ever seen from an individual in a big moment, with Kristaps out, down to the Clippers, you know, taking into account everything that happened. But like, outside of that, a big thing about Luka was that when the moments came, when the clutch time happened, Luka would be passive in situations and not necessarily the most efficient player. I don't have the stats in front of me, but you could probably find his clutch stats not nearly the same level as Giannis. And not that Giannis is a great clutch player either, but Giannis is so dominant in those 30 minutes that he does play that he usually doesn't even need to be clutch. Like, he's locked up the 1 seed basically without another superstar alongside him. Sure, Chris Middleton's an all-star, but you know, no one's mistaking Chris Middleton for a top 20 player in the NBA. And Giannis has consistently led his team already, and I think it's only going to go up from here.
Yeah, Rob, I'm glad you alluded to that, because what we call James Harden and Luka Doncic, we call them volume scorers. These are players that are going to have to take a bunch of shots, and they might not do it in the most efficient way. When you look at Luka's three-point percentage, yeah, it's glaringly not good. I think he's probably averaged on his career around 31%, somewhere around those levels. And the thing about Luka Doncic is he shoots so many step backs and so many difficult shots. He shoots about probably like somewhere between 8, 9, 10 threes a game, but you have to respect his ability to hit those threes compared to Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis is only taking 2 or 3. He might take 2 threes a game max, but they're going to be wide open looks that nobody's really respecting at that time. It doesn't matter. I mean, if he's hitting his shots, he's hitting his shots. Point blank, period. And the thing about Giannis, he's a very, I don't want to say intimidating, he's a very frustrating player to play. And I think that's a great case for him. A lot of players like James Harden and other players that play against him stay coming at the way that he plays the game. He takes 2 strides and dunks. He scores in such easy ways, such difficult ways for the defense to stop, which makes him a guaranteed player to put up numbers throughout every game. So I think Giannis is going to be one of the hardest players to stop in the 2020s, but I'm really worried about his ability to make big time shots when the games are close. How is Giannis going to create separation and hit shots when he's not able to easily get to the lane? And that's why I think that the young Luka Doncic is going to be able to progress to a point where his efficiency is going to reach a level where we're not worried about where he's at today, because he'll progress in such a way that he'll be shooting closer to 48% from the field and hopefully closer to 40 or 38% from 3.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Luka's a certified hooper. No disrespect on his name whatsoever. The things he can do with a basketball already is honestly amazing. Giannis is just a physical force of nature to be reckoned with, and I don't know who's reckoning with it over these next 10 years. So we'll see a lot of highlights from those 3 guys over the next 10 years, but if you had to buy any of those rookie sports cards, I'd go with Giannis. You're going with Luka. See how it plays out. Looking forward to this NBA over the next 10 years. It's going to be a hell of a decade.
Hell yeah, there's supposed to be a lot of good prospects coming up in the next couple of years, so keep your eyes on those players as well. But we got our eyes set on Luka, Giannis, and maybe a little spice of Zion Williamson.
So lock it in. That's our take for the day, and you can find all pro sports takes on prosportsoutlook.com, or even better, if you're already subscribed to Pro Sports Outlook's YouTube channel.
And that wraps up this episode of Pro Sports Takes. And remember, we encourage everyone to go ahead and leave comments about the player or even the team you want us to discuss. Tweet us at PSO_sports or simply use the hashtag #ProSportsTakes. And we'll continue to monitor what's hot so we can give it a spot on our future show.
So we'll see you next time.
Until next time.